Hello, welcome to Dose of Sunshine. I am your host, Sunny Nielsen, messaging expert. Today, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to be a little vulnerable today and open up about a giant mistake that I made early on in my online career. And the reason why I'm saying it is because I want to make sure that you don't make the same mistake. And that mistake was not having a contract, not having something written down in black and white so that everyone was clear on what the responsibility was and what the compensation was, so that everybody was on the same page about what needed to be done, what I was going to get paid, when I was going to get paid, and all of that stuff. Now, for anyone who's in the digital world, anyone who's trying to run their own business understands the importance of you kind of need to be paid, right? Like if you don't get paid, you're not really running a business, you're just running a hobby, right? Well, it's kind of a hard story to tell just because I think about back on it now, and it's been almost 4 years, almost 5 actually, since this happened, but it still stings. Not, anytime that you make a mistake, especially a giant mistake like this, where it costs you a lot of money, it's kind of painful. But it's important for me to share this because, again, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did. So before I get into the story, again, I am Sunny Nielsen, messaging expert. This is Dose of Sunshine. And on this show, I talk about business, marketing, creativity, and all the crazy chaos that happens while trying to run a business while being a wife and mom. This topic today falls very squarely in the business realm, and I want to make sure that you understand it. Now, if you haven't liked my page, please like my page, hit the bell anywhere around the video, and you will be notified every time that I put an episode up. So I totally want you to join me on this journey as I just talk about all the things that I do to help run a successful business. Now, if you're catching me live, thank you so much for joining me live. I really do appreciate any of my viewers who can join me live. Please drop a note in the comments, #live. If you do catch me on the replay, of course, I still want to know that you made it and you were able to watch. So please drop a note in the comments, #replay. Now, if this topic really resonates with you, please drop a note in here. If you have any questions related to contracts, things like that, again, I am not a lawyer, but I'm happy to talk through just my own personal experience. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything like that after I've told my story. But now that, you've liked my business page, you've dropped a note in the comments, let's dive right in. So this was almost 5 years ago, and I had just started in the digital space. So I was just trying to get my feet under me as a virtual assistant, marketer, business person. I had 2 very small children, and I needed to find something to provide. My husband had a part-time job, and I was trying to find something. So of course I looked, hey, let's see if I can find something that I can do from home, or find something that I can leverage the skills that I learned in school. I mean, I went to school for marketing, for communication. So I was trying to find something, and I found an amazing opportunity. I was so excited to get this first job, and it seemed great. And I was super excited, super pumped to jump right in, do my best, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this, that I could, even though I'd been, kind of a mom for a while, this was my chance to kind of prove to myself and to the world that I had skills that were valuable and that were worth paying for, right? So I start this job, we're going through it, and again, I didn't know any better at the time. I mean, this was my very first job. At the time, the relationship that I had with this person, they were like, you know what, we will figure it out. Like, we'll pay you this much. And this all happened live. Like, it just happened in an in-person conversation because they happen to live in the area where I live as well. So it ended up being kind of an in-person and virtual relationship. But the conversations that we had, they were like, we'll totally take care of you. Like, I know that you'll be a valuable asset to the team. Come work, we'll totally make this happen, and I will take care of your family. You don't ever have to worry. I'll take care of you. That was the key phrase that totally sold me on, let's just dive right in. Let's just go and make something happen. This will be great, and I'll be able to prove my worth. They'll be happy. Everybody will be happy. I'll get paid. My family will have money. It'll be fantastic. Yay! Yeah, that didn't exactly happen. Now, not to say that I did not learn some amazing things. I did. In fact, it was one of the best learning experiences that I ever had. And it really solidified my drive to want to be in the digital marketing space, want to be a marketer. And that I knew that my skill set was solid and worthwhile and needed in this space. This job really helped me hone in on my skill sets and say, I am owning this and I'm owning the expertise that I know that I have. However, the hard part came where, as we were continuing to work with this company, work with this business, things started to kind of go downhill a little bit. Things started to, like work kind of dried up, the income wasn't coming in as consistently. And so the business was struggling. And instead of me, again, having kind of a hard line of, okay, this is my responsibility, this is what I'm getting paid, and having that very clear definition of my role, my responsibility, and my compensation, of course, I just wanted to make them happy. I wanted to try and make the business successful. So I continued to work. I continued to do everything that I needed to do because I felt a sense of loyalty to this business, because again, they had taken a chance on me. I hadn't ever done any digital space, virtual assistant space at all. So I felt like they had really taken a chance by hiring me. They saw my skill sets in a live space, but I'd never really proven myself in the digital space, right? And you always need someone to take a chance on you. And I felt this kind of obligation to stay and to try and make it work. The problem is that it continued to get worse and worse. And I kept going back to this whole concept that the person had said, I'm going to take care of your family. I'm going to take care of you. You don't have to worry. And so I kept kind of holding on to this little string thread of, well, they said they're going to take care of me. They said they're going to help. And if everything had moved forward as anticipated, of course, there would have been enough money to go around. There would have been enough money to support their family, my family, to make the business grow. And yet it wasn't that way. The business didn't continue to grow. And again, because I was still fairly new to the digital space, I didn't know why. And I was not in a position, because I was not the owner, because that's one of those benefits of being an owner, is that you kind of know all the things and you can decide how to direct your business. I was not the owner, and I did not have full access to everything that was going on. So there was no way for me to try and help influence or direct where the business should go to try and make money. Now, because of that, again, the business continued to kind of deteriorate and dwindle. And again, out of loyalty and out of this hope, because this person kept saying, I will totally pay you. I will, I kept getting kind of like partial payments, or a little bit here, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, but not the full amount that we had agreed upon in person, that we had agreed upon at the beginning. And so I continued to work, and I got these little strings, again, threads of, oh, here's this little bit, here's this little bit. The other thing was the fact that I felt like I couldn't leave. I started to resent it a little bit, because I was like, well, this person owes me like $1,500. And if I leave now, I may never get it back. But if I keep working and then the business turns around, then I'll get my money, right? So then I felt this like determination, like I'm going to show them, I'm going to make this, happen. I'm going to make this business successful so that I'll get my money. And so then it kind of became this anger thing. Like I held on to this business and I held on to this job, and I kept pushing because I felt like I was owed. Like I put in these hours, I put in this time, and I need to be paid. I deserve to be paid because I put in this money and I put in this time and all of this energy, and I wasn't being compensated. And the thing is that I worked for 3 months, 3 solid months of basically getting zero pay. And, it got to the point where I was like, I can't feed my family. Like this whole me getting another job, me getting this job was so that I could provide for my family. And because of the situation that I was in, I wasn't doing that. And yet I was fighting. I was fighting so hard to keep this job because, again, I felt like I was owed. I felt like I put in this time, I put in this effort, and I kept going back, going, you said you were going to take care of me. You said you were going to take care of my family. The thing is that when it really came down to it, it wasn't that person's responsibility to take care of my family. It was my responsibility. And I had to take ownership that this wasn't working. That, as grandiose as the idea was, and as high an aspiration it was to try and make this business successful for this other business owner, it wasn't helping me. It wasn't helping my family. And in reality, it was hurting my family. And so when I really looked at it and I went, okay, what kind of recourse do I have? Because I've been putting all this time in, putting in all this energy. When I went back to look at it, I didn't really have anything because I had nothing written down. I had nothing in black and white. Everything that we had a discussion on was in person. We were having an in-person conversation. We negotiated my rate in person. And because I was a rookie, because I didn't know any better, I didn't write anything down. I didn't have us sign anything. So the only thing that I had in terms of recourse was simply to say, this is the amount that he had paid me, that this person had paid me for the first few months that we had worked together, that everything was going fine, everything was good. And that was the closest thing that I had to showing this was the kind of arrangement that we had. Unfortunately, again, because I was a rookie, I didn't know what my actions were, what my options were in terms of trying to get my money back. And in reality, I realized that if I were to take him to court to try and get this money back, like it totaled just over $5,000 of time and energy that I had put in to this project, to his business, that I hadn't been paid for. But when I looked at it and I went, is it worth it for me to try and take this person to court? When I actually looked at it, I went, I'll have to pay for court fees. I have no idea how long it's going to take. And in reality, the harder I push right now, I'm actually putting in more energy to try and, again, get this money back that I feel like I'm owed, instead of just making peace with, this was a mistake that I made on my part, and it's time for me to move on. Now, again, this was a really painful mistake. I mean, that was $5,000 that my family did not have. My family did not have to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, to put food on the table for my kids. And let me tell you, that hurt. That hurt a lot. That I had put in so much time and energy, and I had nothing to show for it. And I had nothing to give to my kids and my family to recompense for the work that I had done. Now, it totally sucked, but I learned a valuable lesson. And I said, I am worth more than this. And my time is worth more than this. And so really, I mean, this is a lesson that I'm glad that I learned. It was painful. I mean, really, $5,000 is no small thing, right? But it helped me realize that anyone can tell you a sweet story. Anyone can say and do the things that make it look like they're going to be a great person, or they're going to deliver all of these great, grandiose things. They might say that they will give you the world, but when the shiz hits the fan, your only recourse as a business owner, even as a person, is to have a contract, is to have something written in black and white. Because if it's not written in black and white, it may as well not exist. And the thing is that this lesson has helped me in numerous times throughout my life since then. One of the greatest examples is we just built a house. Like, we are 2 years in, just barely 2 years into this brand new house. But when we built the house, there was some stuff that the builder totally screwed up on. totally screwed up on. Like, they told us we were going to have one style of kitchen, and then they tried to put in a whole other style kitchen. And because we had a contract and we had it in black and white that said, look, you said you were going to give us this and this and this, and it was all itemized out in the list, they had to honor the contract. And so this is my, again, PSA, this is my driving hope for you, that you understand the value that you have as a person, as a business, and that I want you to be protected. Because if you don't have that written down somewhere, if you don't have a way to prove that this is what we've talked about, this is what we've agreed upon, this is what I've delivered, you have it makes it 10 times harder to actually get what you're owed or to actually complete the transaction. Now, of course, I could have taken this person to court. I probably could have eventually gotten my $5,000, but I realized in myself that it was not worth my time, my energy, or expending additional cost to try and get this money back. And so I really, if nothing else, I want you to realize the importance of a contract. Hello, Susanna. Thank you so much for joining me live. And yes, thank you. I'm so glad that you feel like I'm right on this. I want any business owner to understand that I know it seems inconvenient to try and draft a contract, to try and write something up right now. I promise it will help you. It will save you energy, stress in the long run. Because it's something that I had to learn the hard way as a rookie business owner. As this was my first solid client. And that was the other thing. I was scared. Like, when all of this went down, I was like, how am I supposed to go against this person? This person's been doing, they've had their own business. They have multiple businesses. They looked so big. How was I supposed to fight them? Little old me, whatever. I don't want you to make the same mistakes. I want you to learn so that you can have a solid foundation for your business. So if you take nothing else away from this, aside from really, rookies can make some really serious mistakes when they first start out in business. But please, I hope that you learn from my mistake. Please don't make these mistakes as a rookie. If, even as a seasoned business owner, sometimes we forget. And this is the other thing, just because someone's your friend, I love them to death, but you have to have some kind of contractual agreement if you're really going to do something. Now, if you volunteer time or you're like, hey, I'm totally happy to work with you and do these different things, go into that with an understanding that you may never get paid for that time, or you may never get paid for this project, and that's okay. Like, if you accept that, I am giving of this time, if something comes back, bonus, right? Like, that's icing on the cake. But if you're helping friends or you're doing stuff for friends or family, if you don't have a contract, then you better have a clear understanding in your mind that if you never get paid for it, you will still be okay. And realize that I personally, I don't do business with friends or family without a solid contract, because I say, look, I would rather have the relationship, I would rather have the friendship stay than to have whatever business transaction, whatever is going on there. I value you. I value our relationship. I value our connection. And, that's where a contract is so beneficial, because again, it clearly defines what the role is, what the responsibility is, and what the deliverable and payments are. It just makes sure everybody's on the same page. And that's one of those great things, is that you can say, I love you enough to have clearly defined responsibilities, deliverables, and payments. That's it. And if they get all angry or whatever about it, then they have issues about this situation and not you. But at least you have protected yourself, and that you can be comfortable and okay with whatever the outcome is, whether they choose to work with you, whether they choose to not work with you. You've clearly defined where you stand on things, and then you can move forward. So my final thought, if you have resonated with this concept, please drop a note in the comments. Say contract, 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 contract. This is so important as a business owner. I want you guys to understand that even if it's a simple thing, I know that everyone says you need a lawyer to do all of this stuff. I still do recommend that you go through a lawyer to really get your contract solid. But even if you're just starting out, even if you're scared and you're like, I can't afford a lawyer, just getting it on paper, just writing it out, going, this is what I'm going to give her or him or her or whoever it is. This is what they're going to pay me in compensation for XYZ thing. And then you both sign it. DocuSign is a fantastic source. There are like multiples. DocuSign is the one that I've used in the past, but there are plenty of online digital signing platforms that each person, no matter where they are in the world, can sign a document that simply says, I have this, they're going to pay me this for this transaction. And again, if you know the shiz hits the fan and everything goes to pot, at least you know you have something in front of you to fight with. This is your chance to protect yourself. And I am so glad that you guys have joined me on here. If you know of anyone that should hear this message about contracts, please tag them in the notes or share it out on your page. If you share it on the page, please use my hashtag DOSunshine. That is DOSunshine, because I really feel like any business owner, especially new business owners, really need to understand the value and the protection that a contract provides. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susanna, for joining me live. Thank you to anyone else. I saw there was a couple others that popped on, popped off live. Thank you so much for joining me. If you catch me on the replay, I still appreciate every single one of you that joins me for my show. If you have any questions, comments about contracts, you want to hear more about my crazy story, I'm happy to share. Please feel free to drop a note in the comments or send me a private message. And I just want you to know that I am here to support you as a business owner, so that we can all be better and more successful in the months, years to come. So until the next episode, thank you so much for joining me. We will see you next time. Bye.